Do any of you remember a show by the name of Yasuke? Came out on Netflix in 2021? No? No one remembers it? Well, damn. Let's have a quick rundown, shall we? Great. So Yasuke is a show about... well, it's not really about Yasuke. Anyway, it's a show about a man named Yasuke. The same Yasuke from history who was the first black samurai in 16th century Japan. The anime was supposed to serve as historical fiction, seeing as much about Yasuke isn't well known or just a bunch of loose stories in time. The series was written and created by LeSean Thomas, more on him later, and was animated by Studio Mappa. Yes, the same Studio Mappa of Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, and Chainsaw Man fame. Yasuke was also being voiced by LaKeith Stanfield, who starred in Sorry to Bother You, Atlanta, and Get Out. He was also L in Death Note, but enough about that. So with all these things in place, this show has no reason to be bad, right? Right? Animation looks solid, and there was some anticipation going into this work. Everything is going smoothly for the show, and then the show drops. You hop on Netflix ready to watch, and then episode 1 comes on. And immediately starting out, we have this raging battle going on. It's very intense. And then... That's a mech. And not just any old mech, a CG mech. Not even 2 minutes in, and there's a whole ass mech in here. So some things are probably running through your mind. Did I click the right show? I know it says Yasuke here, but this can't be the same thing, right? Oh, but it is, and it gets better. These warriors are shooting magical arrows at the enemy forces. Yes, you heard me. Arrows formed in magic to attack people. So yeah, all this witchcraft and wizardry is going on, and that's the introduction to the show. We're only on episode 1, mind you. There's 5 more episodes left. Yasuke is the only show that if someone told me they shut it off within the first 2 minutes, I would completely understand.
Can't take this shit no more, man.
If you think the tomfoolery ends here and we get a more grounded story after this, yeah, that's not happening. I'm gonna skip ahead to about episode 3. So these two characters are named Haruto and Nikita. Haruto is another mech. Wonderful. And Nikita is... so she transforms into a werebear. Ah yes, one of the big baddies of this series is a furry, the real enemies. And these two characters are tasked with trying to find a little girl. The little girl in question is named Saki, and Saki happens to be a telepath. That's not even the best part. Remember when I said that this show isn't about Yasuke? It's not. It's about Saki. Yes, the show that is branded and marketed as a show about Yasuke, the first African samurai, isn't about him, but about a little girl with telepathic powers. And Yasuke is tasked with protecting her. She's the central focus, and no, I am not trolling. I do appreciate the commitment to the nonsense we have to watch here because there's genuinely no way of being able to walk any of this back. You've been set on this path, and now we have to endure it. And we're enduring it because of one man. LeSean Thomas. Oh, I was gonna get to you, my boy. The time was coming. So for anyone who doesn't know who LeSean Thomas is, he is a writer, a comic book artist, and producer. He's worked on shows such as The Boondocks, the shittier seasons, not when it used to be good, The Children of Ether, and Cannon Busters. Now, Cannon Busters and Yasuke have very, very similar things in common, and they both have to do with how LeSean Thomas writes his shows. So to fill you guys in, LeSean Thomas is a big anime fan. The guy loves and adores the medium, and that's great. I love seeing more anime fans pop up, especially ones that are able to produce work to be able to give attention to a style and genre that they otherwise weren't familiar with. That's great. But the problem with LeSean is that he doesn't understand why anime works. I'll explain. Cannon Busters is filled to the brim of homages to other anime and attempts to be a celebration of it all in a show. The problem with this is, this now comes at the cost of the identity of your own show. He's obsessed with trying to get across how much he loves anime at the risk of fumbling his own show and what it wants to tell you. Cannon Busters at most times feels very disjointed with how it wants to paint a narrative, and the same thing happens with Yasuke. Mechs and anime are cool. Yes, 100%. When they're in the genre that they're in. Magic anime is cool. Yes, when they're in the genre that they're in. LeSean Thomas wanted to combine these two wildly different things into a show that was believed to be a historical fiction piece. You see where the problem lies, right? He sees all of these things are cool, and he's like a child in a candy store looking at the wide array of candy. He wants to have everything and then mash them all together to make a product, and it doesn't work that way. And don't get me wrong, I fully know that creative liberties had to be taken with something like this. After all, what is known about Yasuke is very few and far between. But my man took every liberty you could have thought of and thought it would pan out when it couldn't and eventually didn't. Remember when I said in my Why Live Action Anime Doesn't Work video about how even if you have someone on production that is a big fan of that medium, they might not understand how that medium works, and LeSean Thomas is a big offender in that. Magic and mechs are cool when used appropriately and in their respective genres. Tournament arcs in shonen anime are a great watch. But what you're not gonna do is have a tournament arc in a Your Name adaptation. The most damning thing about Yasuke is the fact that it had no reason to fail. There was a clear blueprint right in front of the writers' faces, and sadly it was not realized. I sincerely thought that Yasuke was going to be a story about the friendship between him and Oda Nobunaga, especially in a time where 16th century Japan isn't familiar with black people. Hell, when they first saw him, they thought his skin was dirty and he needed to be washed. Hey, Japan was foul for that one. This could have been a chance to tell a story about that friendship on and off the battlefield. A real brother-in-arms story. Yasuke struggling with his place within Japan and being Nobunaga's friend, while also having to do with people telling him that he doesn't belong because he's not Japanese and shouldn't even be close to Nobunaga in the first place. And Nobunaga could have been the person to stand up for him because that's his friend, and he's treating him more than just a trusted ally on the battlefield, but as a human being. This should have been a real beautiful story about the limits of friendship and how far it can go. How much a person can take in a space where they don't belong and someone that wants to make that space comfortable for them. A story about Nobunaga's camp being upset and confused as to why he's giving so much attention to someone that's not like them. If he even is the same person they've gone into battle with. What about him changed? What about Yasuke made him change? There's so many levels of nuance that should have been at play here, and I'm still shocked that none of it was taken. Instead of that, we get a bunch of superficial fluff for the sake of, oh, it looks cool because I saw it look cool in my favorite anime, so I'm gonna put it in there, instead of a genuine story. It's just such a waste of really good talent, a waste of Mappa's talents as well. This wasn't their best work, but they for sure tried to make this work. Action scenes are nice, but it just sucks that they had to be the ones to work on this when we all know that they're capable of creating fantastic works. But there's only so much you can do with a fundamentally flawed script. LeSean Thomas' series never seem to go beyond season 1's, and it shows because there's not much you can do with what's already at play. And no, this is not a shot at him as a person. I don't want anyone to come away with that being the takeaway from this. This is just me talking about his works as a creative. People looked at the trailer for Yasuke and felt like it could have been the modern day Afro Samurai. They had the soundtrack going, the animation style, they had everything. It's just a shame that for the anticipation the show was having, it managed to dash it away in only 6 episodes. Hell, not even 6, in the first minute and some change, all because of an artistic vision that didn't suit what was going on. Also, a little funny story about this. So for anyone that followed my channel from the very beginning, if you did, I love you, but my outro song used to be the song Crust from Yasuke, and if you ever wonder why I don't use it anymore, your boy got hit with that crisp copyright claim, baby. I just wanted to share that because I thought it was funny to me. I always hate when things that should work out and have every right to work ends up not working over the stupidest of reasons. I hope going forward LeSean Thomas takes a genuine look at what he consumes from anime and understands why these things work, how they work for the stories that are being told with them, and how he's able to make a show with its own sense of identity so that it doesn't feel like it can just be pinpointed to a better work that came before. But that's already enough out of me. I said what I had to say, but I want to hear what you guys thought of Yasuke. Did you even watch the show? Did you know it existed before today? If you did know about it, were you expecting what you did? Let me know and I'll see you all next time.